Look, if you wandered into Portland Bay Press last week, you might have come across Damon Kowalski. He's a Melbourne-based printmaker. He was recently in Portland working on a fascinating project, which is going to be exhibited overseas next month. I dropped into Portland Bay Press last week to have a chat to him about it.
My name's Damon Kowalski. I'm an artist and printmaker based in Melbourne.
And Damon, we're sitting in Portland at the Portland Bay Press. So you're here just visiting at the moment?
Yeah, so we've been here about 2 weeks printing now, but I've been coming down to Portland since 2015. So it's 10 years that I've been visiting and working in the studio here.
Now, people might be familiar with your work. You've exhibited all over the place. I think Wonderful Art Gallery, F Project, and so on. But at the moment, so tell us about the project you're working on at the moment.
Yeah, so this is a project in celebration of the English painter William Turner's 250th birthday. He's not alive to blow out the candles, but in 1832 he visited the island of Guernsey in the English Channel and he made a sketchbook. And so Art for Guernsey, an arts organisation based in Guernsey, has invited 4 artists to come back and follow in Turner's footsteps, go to the places he went, draw what he drew, be inspired by the things he saw, and then make contemporary work in response to all those things.
Which is a fantastic opportunity, I imagine.
Yeah.
How did you land this?
So I was recommended to it by a Russian printmaker, Oleg Mikhailov, who I'd met in China. And then in 2019, I organised an exhibition of his lithographs at Tacit Art in Melbourne. And then he had worked with Art for Guernsey for a number of years and put my name forward as someone they might like to work with.
Hopefully people will be familiar with Turner's work, because it's pretty recognisable, I suppose. But how do you describe? Just remind us, I guess, what his sort of hallmarks are.
So if you think of Turner, it's violent, wild seascapes with a small boat being tossed and racked upon the swell. He's really famous as a romantic English painter of the seaside. One of his most famous paintings was the Houses of Parliament in the UK on fire. And he made a whole career out of very romantic, forceful paintings of nature versus small, insignificant people and their artefacts.
And you're right. It's quite a sort of explosion of colour in a way, isn't it? A lot of his work, and it's slightly abstract, would you say?
Yeah, so very modern in terms of that the paint was quite loose and powerful in its own right rather than really meticulous. He's famous for using colours that unfortunately didn't last, so the paintings we see today are not quite as vivid as he would have painted them, but he's very well known in the UK, kind of a major artist of the 19th century.
Now, and presumably you quite like his work, yeah?
I quite like it. The sketchbook was really amazing. It's absolutely tiny. It's about the size of an iPhone. You can hold it in one hand. And you can just see that he went everywhere and drew everything. And there's one drawing where he was standing on a boat 13 mile off the coast of Alderney, and we went back and recreated that position. And I wouldn't have liked to have done it in a non-motorised boat because there's rough seas and rocks, and you quickly pushed into the rocks. So he was quite brave.
Because a lot of your art is, or at least what I've seen, is quite meticulous or feels quite sort of planned and so on. Which I don't know. So when it comes to reinterpreting Turner, how are you going about doing that?
So there were 2 parts of it. One was that he uses a sketchbook, and that's something I make my practice about. So I always travel with sketchbooks and work back in the studio from the drawings I've made there. The other was the places that he'd been to. And Art for Guernsey has identified 16 precise locations where Turner drew from. And so I went to those places and drew what he had drawn. Obviously, things have changed in 200 years. There's buildings that weren't there. There's buildings that were there that have now been demolished. I think one of the 19th century forts was demolished for a tram depot, so that's good use. But I was able to, I thought, capture something of the spirit of his exploration and going out to places and drawing and then going back to the studio.
Is this a well-worn trail as well? Are there a lot of artists or people who make a bit of a pilgrimage of this trail?
Well, it's funny that you say trail because it's called the Finding Turner Trail. and it's quite a new project for Art for Guernsey. They'd previously done one based on Renoir's visit to Guernsey, and also Victor Hugo, the famous author of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, had also spent time in Guernsey. So they have set up plaques around the island where visitors to the island can go and see what Turner had drawn, and those plaques have a little bit of history and also the drawings as well.
But so in terms of a trail, though, I mean, that's something that you can, like, it's almost, is it almost like a tourist attraction now, or does it have that aim?
Yes, that's very much the aim. So there's a website. It gives you the locations on Google Maps, and you can go to the 16 places around the islands, Guernsey, Alderney, Herman, Sark, and see what Turner did. Also, attached to that website will be the contemporary images made in response to Turner's places. So my work and the other artists, Merlin, Gideon and Charlie, and also James, their work will also be, you can see it online with your phone or something.
Right, okay. So the works you're creating then, what are they like? Are they I don't know, you just describe them, I suppose, and maybe how they compare to your works that we might have seen from you in the past.
Yeah, so the works that I'm making here at Portland Bay Press are all etchings on copper plates, so it's things that you would have seen at the F Project or Warrnambool Art Gallery. The difference is it's really focused on that single place of Guernsey, and we were there midsummer. It was really sunny and bright, and I mean, they said it was warm. They were swimming. It was 15 degrees. So we were...
Sounds like Waterable.
Yeah, we were all wearing puffy jackets and scarves and beanies, and everyone else is sunbaking in bikinis. So they knew we weren't from around there. But it's a place that's obviously really affected by the weather, and in winter you can just imagine the crazy storms coming through. So even though I was there in summer, the feeling I've tried to capture in the work is that kind of wild, tempestuous, cold, stormy, violent, amazing scenery that they have.
That was Damon Kowalski there. He's a Melbourne-based printmaker. He was in Portland recently creating those works using the facilities at Portland Bay Press, and that exhibition coming up later this year at Guernsey, if you happen to be in Guernsey, for the 250th birthday of Turner. As you mentioned, hopefully we'll get to see those projects or those works down the track a bit locally, maybe at the F Project Gallery or somewhere else around the region. And Damon does have another exhibition on at the moment as well at Portland Bay Press of some other works. It's called 25 Right on Track. It's well worth popping in. That continues through till the 4th of March. The gallery is open Monday to Friday, 10 till 4, and Saturday, 10 till 1. It also features works by Hyunju Kim.